Alright, welcome to another video on how to become a business consulting freelancer. So, what I'm gonna make here is a quick recap of all the things that I have learned so far in this last module on how to create effective and visually engaging presentations or report. But before that, this section 4 focuses on how to create or how to conduct a proper research and gather quality data. So first, understand that data is something powerful because it can help you to reinforce your point of view, persuade, inform, but also can be misleading. And because of that, it's important to recognize, especially when you are conducting a research for a consulting project, what are the most valuable to the least valuable. Data that come from the company is the first party data, the most valuable. Usually you have to sign an NDA agreement. Once you do that, then you can look what they have done in the past, how they have been performance, and see how you can provide your suggestions. Then looking at the second party data or data that come from trust sources where they have a great record of research report, peer review, and ultimately is the aggregate sources. These are for some reason because sometimes when you're conducting a research, you can have access to the first party data, and that is a new industry, perhaps. So you have is well these aggregate sources where they don't have a great record of proven research, or you don't know who the author really is. So then, from the broad perspective, I know and I look at how to conduct a research by first playing devil advocate with yourself. So look things from different perspective, and then get make your research based on relevant data. Take notes and keep record of every source you obtain, qualify that data or those findings, and don't forget to circle back with the client for feedback. So I look at how Andrew or Paul Mendes, this zero to mastery structure, do that on a tourist website, which first it look at the website, understand what they're offering, all their product and service, and then go into the specific about the pricings, how much they charge, company's review, because from there I can see what I can provide as a consultant. If you can have access to the first party data, great, because you can now, uh, as I mentioned before, look what they have done in the past, see how they have been performing, so you can from there know how you can provide your suggestions. So once you do that, okay, then look at the competitor analysis. This is to understand who the other players are in that industry, and that is by know what they're doing, see what they're doing, and what you can learn from them. By taking a keyword research based on that, you use tools like keyword research to know what's going on in that industry. And from there, you now do a more wide research to get words, to get news from the words, to get up to date real feedback. So you ask yourself, everything that I have researched, what is most likely to apply today? And that include is where this industry is going and how this industry is adapting to regulations. I make my own research based on that. And first is to understand is the e-commerce first. So Amazon and Shopify mentioned that the e-commerce especially Amazon, is a trade of goods and service on the internet. So it is your bustling city center or your brick and mortar shop converts into zeros and one on the superhighway internet. Sorry, on the internet superhighway. Well, Shopify mentioned that yes, even though that e-business refers to operating all aspects of an online business, whether it's marketing, create marketing campaigns, first conduct a research on the conduct a market research, create conduct market re- Jesus, conduct market research, conduct marketing research, developing marketing strategy, create campaigns and managing social networks, uh, sales is to identify potential sell leads or clients, make a video or sales call presentation, or do a sales call or video presentation, uh, negotiate contract or agreement, and ultimately close the deal. Then another specific business operation is the finance or the accountant, like create finance reports, analyze and present visualization based on that, pay taxes, among others, research or human research, where now they are responsible for hiring and recruiting new talents, managing benefits and payrolls, as well as conflict amongst employees, management process or management operations, where now they take care of developing new production operations or improve existing one, check the quality standards for them. The IT sectors, which are responsible for creating network systems, developing software or developing and design software systems, provide technical support, and also provide data security, well as the customer relate customer service is now responsible for uh, yeah well and customer service is now responsible for address customers inquires, uh, resolve conflicts based on resolve customer complaints and returns, provide technical support, and check for customer satisfaction. While the research and development is focused on develop new products or improve the existing one, create patterns for that based on prototypes. So all of these are business specific operations, something that Shopify mentioned that e-business refers to that. But e-commerce refers specifically to the trade of good and service on the internet. So what does it mean is, after all, this is all about the e-commerce. Okay? So then I look at the actors involved, like the government, consumers, and business, and how each other's related, and how they interact each other's. So you have business to consumer, which is the most widely popular business model out there. So you have online retailers like Amazon, Costco, and Walmart, subscription service like Netflix, Spotify, digital marketplace like Etsy and eBay, ordering food and ordering ordering service and food delivery like Grubhub, Uber Eats, online travel and booking like Airbnb, Booking.com, Travala is another one. From the business to business that you have is digital marketplaces as well, like Alibaba, Amazon Business, eBay Business, EDI, this electronic data interchange, traditional paperwork such as invoice or purchase order. Now it is done electronically using these systems. IBM provide that among uh, inner business communications or external supply online portals. So for very large business that they want to streamline their supply chain or procurement portals, so they set an online portals or an online supplier portals for that, such as Ariba SAP, SAP Ariba Network, or uh, yes, SAP Ariba Network, or what the supply center for Walmart supply center, wholesale e-commerce like Granger or Uline, and business to business payment solution, PayPal or Stripe. Looking at another business model where you have is not the consumers to business like freelance work in platforms like Upwork, Total, Freelancer, user generated content, where now consumers sell their digital media to business, audio, image, or video. Shutterstock, for example, SurveyMonkey, which is a online survey where now consumers can participate in paid survey online or the online pay survey. uh, in place like yeah in online play service or in online pay survey, uh, mhm, like survey monkey specifically for market research. And what next? Crowdfunding, so to yeah, like Indiegogo and Kickstarter, and in a reverse auction like name your price. Also, you have is the government to business, such as public procurement portals like the FBO in the US or the UK contract finders in the UK. Tax payment and filing, yeah, tax filing and payment systems, paying portals, all right, like the electronic federal tax payment system on the US or the HM Custom and Revenue in the UK, as well as um, doo-doo, um, Jesus, as well as um, Here I'm just explaining this example of government to business, public procurement portals, tax filing and payment systems, international trade and custom clearance, business registrations, and permits and licensing from the business or from the government to consumers, somewhat similar, but now the offer is tax payment portals, so citizens can apply to pay their taxes, the IRS on the US, for example, or the on the UK custom Custom and Revenue Service. And also you have utility bills, payment of fines and fees, applying for passport renewal, driving and vehicle licensing, and for the consumer to governments, well, online petitions, uh, online donations, as well as payment of fines and fees, fishing and licensing, for example, licensing and permit like fishing licensing or hunting permits. So once I look at that, okay, the different actors as well as the examples of how they relate each other, how they interact each other, then I also look at the different actors involved in the e-commerce field, the competitor analysis, okay? So like Amazon, Etsy, eBay, Shopify, IKEA, in a very small keyword research, right? To understand what's going on in that industry. So they sell is most of the time is Shopify themes or WordPress themes, POS, point of sales, uh, eBay coins, gift cards. So you get the idea. So once I do that, and to get a clear idea what's going on, at least in the e-commerce sphere, now then I can jump is on how to create visual engaging presentation, because the whole point of this model is to see how you can conduct a research, gather quality data, and then how you can conduct and then how you can create a research report based on your findings, right? Why? Because after all, clients wants to know how you reach the conclusions, and by showing you charts with the statistics, you can show them the meaningful patterns. And as a consulting, it is important that the client know how you reach the conclusions, and from there provide your suggestions. And this is also to see that you're not just another consulting that just do the bare minimum uh, just to get by, right? Mhm. So the whole point of this, right? So the whole point of this is to, by looking at these particular topics of analyze your research and notes, uh, because you must know precisely what is going to be on this report. Okay, so analyze your research and notes, because reporting is very powerful when it is done the right way. You should precisely know how to use the data before creating your own report. by putting the most valuable data, make you, the client, know what's going on, so don't start to forget what is the most important thing was. And you lay down the foundation, you lay down the ground, show the most important and most impactful data, and develop, okay, and then on expand with statistic and aesthetic, okay. So once you have at least several clients, you can create templates to kind of automate this process. And don't forget to visualize data with graph and charts, because data visualizations help to make informed decisions. Now, to understand this kind of different charts and graph and when you can use that, I look at the bar graphs, which are for time, when you want to show change over time bars, or when you want to make a comparison, or a comparison of a whole, right, of different categories. You have the pie chart when you want to make a comparison, part to a whole with continuous or discrete data. This is more impactful for small data sets. Uh, then I look at the line graph when you want to make relationship or this time series relationship, such as uh, showed on such as trending, accelerations, decelerations, and volatility. Line graph. Area chart is a combination of a line graph with volume. Again, if you want to see time series relationship, but now they can represent as three variables. And if you want to, for example, see how different items uh, relate each other in a two variable set, scatter plots are the way to go. For example, you have time to respond on the x-axis and customer satisfaction on the y-axis, and you can see where all is this data uh, uh, grouped together to see correlations. Again, correlation doesn't mean causality, which is one of the greatest error that we made as anyone that reads some kind of data, uh, especially scatter plot or, for example, bubble charts. Right? With bubble charts, again, is helpful to display nominal data or ranking data, and meaning when we talk about categorical data, which are data that can be grouped into classes, you have nominal data when there isn't an inherent value. So this kind of data, they don't have any inherent value, like uh, yeah, this kind of data doesn't have any inherent value. Okay. Yeah, this kind of data doesn't have any inherent value. This nominal data, such as gender, ethnicity, color, fruit, cars. Uh, so, for example, you have is time spent on the internet, age, and gender, right? Great for displaying nominal data that doesn't have an inherent value, that in inherent order. Okay. And then I look at the heat maps, okay, where heat map allows, they're helpful to display categorical data, something that we mentioned. So categorical data that can be grouped into different category or class, whether it's nominal, where this kind of data doesn't have an inherent order, like color, ethnicity, gender, cards, fruits, and uh, ordinal data that it has an inherent order, such as income brackets, student or educational levels, high school, associate diploma, bachelor degree, master degree, doctorate, job seniority, junior, C, or entry level, mid, seniority, executive, customer satisfaction as well. Yeah, customer satisfaction, poor, fair, good, very good, excellent. It's the same for health status or star ratings for a product or service. 1 star, two, three, four, five. So you get the idea. So most of the common use case for heat map is to display categorical data uh, with intensity of color. Okay, so how often this kind of data uh, happens with intensity of colors that represent values of a geographical map or a data table. Okay, so example of this heat map, like this. So example of this heat map you might find then is, for example, on GitHub, where it's showing a data table per days, how often you make commits or how often you interact with the GitHub. Okay. Yep. How often you interact with GitHub. So by making commits, PR, code review. Again, this is nominal data that doesn't have any inherent order. For example, commits uh, or the yeah, like commits or PR. They can be labeled as that. Okay, but this doesn't have an inherent order. So, for example, in the case of commits and this type of data, so commits, uh, you can add ordinary data. You can set that as ordinary data because you can label as you can put a timestamp tag on them, for example, and then you can shuffle or order based on time. So this is the example of heat map. Then I look at geomap, which are data that put on a map to show the distribution on a region, okay, such as to see how many angers or brick and mortar shops a particular brand has, and tables, okay, tables, which are the simplest way to show, for example, tables are the simple way to compare sales representative or where where block views come from, or where block views are coming from based on IP, for example. So to compare that, this is to compare. Then I look at the waterfall chart, which is show value over time to see how you perform based on a particular test. The waterfall chart, pictograph, which are the simplest way of displaying a statistic with icons. Pictogram. If you want to show a statistic with icons, pictograms. And well, tools and research to leverage your report. All right, so you have Excel, Statista, which is a think tank that make a research report as well as peer review. Google Trend, which is actually show you the same. Canva, uh, great tool for creating reports, infographic, among all of this data visualization and, and charts that I described earlier. Google Charts and Google Sheets. All right, CRM analytics, for example, like HubSpot. And don't forget to make it easy to follow and see how others are formulated data. Okay, so with that, then example of creating a report with Canvas, I already did, by the way, with a client that doesn't went well, but I learned from that. What is this? All right, I already saw all of this.
Hello and welcome.
Mm, oh, because I think my exactly. hmm Yeah, that's right. Mm, oh my god. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Come on. Come on. Okay, resend it. Send that again. That's right. Okay, so it receives the response on the server, and there you got it. Okay, so I already received this. No, but it's none of it. All right. And which is this. There you got it. That's right. Okay. You're going to confirm this email here. Okie dokie. That's right. And we were about this. We were more about this. Consulting. Like this. Yep, but because we are using this now a new account because the previous account I couldn't use that. It doesn't matter. So I'm just going to jump straight forward to the section 4, right? Okay. Okay. Okay, this is the section 3. Okay. How to find and land high-paying consulting clients. And here we are on how to conduct proper research as a consultant. Got the quality data, that's right, and how to create effectively an appealing consumer report, right? I also look at the example of creating a report with Canva.
So right now, I have the Canva for your report,
But because
and
I
of course,
already
you have the
do that, it's like I have the
reports. It's so
practice
beneficial.
there, so good. Then jump to the data visualization here.
In this lesson, we're going to be going over the do's and don'ts of data visualization. First, let's start out with the do's. Always use colors for trends. Using colors for trends is very helpful in showcasing exactly what trend you're trying to point out in your report. Next, include statistics wherever possible, because statistics don't lie, and when you have the credible source to back it up, it can really take your reports to the next level. Next, remember to use the most recent data that you can. Now, you do want to look at historical performance wherever possible as well, but you also want to make sure you're including the most recent data, because this is what is likely to impact the client's decision and if they want to go with the recommendations that you're making. So always look at a wide spectrum of data that you have available, but make sure to focus on the most recent data possible to make your reports very accurate and also give you the benefit that what you're suggesting is going to work in today's marketplace, because things shift, things change, and things aren't the same over different years, different decades, and so on. Also, remember to organize your format of your report as much as you can. Always make sure that things make sense, they're being displayed in an order that makes sense, and it's all very organized. So even if the client doesn't have you presenting the report to them, they should still be able to go through the report, and since it's going to be organized, they should be able to accurately digest that information. Next, always compare data to benchmarks when possible. So if you do have different benchmarks, it's helpful to display that in some of the different graphs and charts that we went over in the previous lesson. In that way, you can show how things are either changing over time or how they've stayed the same through different benchmarks. And lastly, always make sure to keep it as readable and as legible as possible. So you want to keep it as simple and easy to read, because that is going to help your report be memorable and also be impactful. Now, let's get into the next section of this lesson. And that is the don'ts of data visualization. So just like with the do's, the don'ts are something you need to remember when you're creating all of your reports and you're about to go present them. The first is forgetting to include your advice. So remember that as a consultant, you're not just doing research and presenting your findings, but you're also using that research and using all of the data that you've gathered to inform your client and help them solve the problem that they hired you to help with. So as a consultant, it's your job to always remember that you're including your advice in the report. Next, never present data out of order. Like we said, that's just going to confuse the client, and it's going to make your report less impactful and harder to remember and harder to understand what the point of it all is, because you didn't put it in the right order. So always remember that you're checking the order in which everything is presented and asking yourself if anything should be switched around. You also want to remember to try not to be too artsy. If you do try to be too artsy and you really go overboard with it being visually appealing, it can take away from what you're actually reporting on. And while you do want it to be visually appealing and use different colors and different charts, you don't want to go overboard. So just like everything in life, it's a balance, but you can get a third-party
It's
opinion,
about consistency
whether it's a different colleague
as well.
or it's a friend or
For
family member.
integrity
Have them
and
look through the
for-
report as well,
for
and ask them if you
consistency.
think it's overboard, if that may be something that you've
So
done
be
in the past.
consistent on that.
Also, like we said in the do section, you never want to use outdated or unrelated data. It's just going to add to the confusion of your report. It's not going to be as relevant, and it's also going to make it harder to understand. In addition, after you do present your report and you compile that report and send it to the client, don't lose all of that data that you've gathered, because chances are you're going to go back to some of that data. You may even update the report or create multiple versions of the report on an ongoing basis as a consultant. So don't lose that data after you present it. That's a huge mistake I've made before, and it actually adds more time to the job, because then you have to go back, retrace all your steps, and find where you got that information. And lastly, don't forget to use precise numbers. So wherever possible, show the real number, the most accurate number. Don't round up, don't round down. Always make sure that you're providing the most precise, accurate information possible, and that's going to help your reports be accurate, credible, and it's also going to rub off on you as a consultant and your reputation when you're performing everything by the book and you're including the accurate number, precise numbers, and you're not making generalizations and you're not rounding anything up or down. Now it's time to present your report live. So you can use a free tool like Google Meet or Crankwheel, which are both browser-based call softwares that you can use to display your screen and also show your face. And this way you can get really the best impact that you can possibly get by presenting your report. So I suggest you don't send the report to the client until right before your call, maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes before. This way they can pull it up, maybe look at it a little bit, but they're not going to be emailing you with all of these questions that you're probably going to be able to go over on that presentation. So they want that in front of them, of course, while they're having you present it to them, but also make sure to let them know exactly why you're doing it that way, so you can walk through all of their questions, you can present your findings, you can guide them through the entire presentation, and you can clearly present your recommendations and solutions to improve their situation. Now, during this process, I highly encourage you to check out the consulting presentation checklist that I included in this course. So scroll down below, it should be attached to this lesson, and download the PDF. It will help you run through a checklist before you perform any presentation to make sure that your consulting report is good to go. I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson.
And the communication tips for consultants.
Welcome to the next lesson. In this lesson, we're going to be going over...
Yeah, because communication after all is the key. That's another reason why I'm practicing this. The data visualization. Wait, what the hell? Interesting that the only capture is come on man. So with that, okay, that'll be all for this video. Take care. Bye bye.